Hi, my name is Ivory Harlow, and I'm here at OSU South Centers today with Laura Ackerman from Ohio AgrAbility, and we are here to talk about the Ohio AgrAbility Program. Laura, if you'd like to introduce yourself and your role within AgrAbility.
Yes, I'm the Disability Services Coordinator for Ohio AgrAbility and OSU Extension.
The Ohio AgrAbility website is online. You can check out the website as we are discussing the programming today to learn more about services. So what is AgrAbility? It's a national program.
It's a national program. It was started at Purdue University in 1991. And actually, Dr. Bill Fields, who was the founder of AgrAbility, had been working, I think, since the 70s. He had farmers come in that were injured or had a disability and wanted to keep farming. He recognized a need. He would, I'm sure, do modifications. And then the Americans with Disabilities Act passed in 1990. And the next year, the Farm Bill included the AgrAbility grants in it. It's a competitive grant. It's 4 years. Last February, we spent a few exciting weeks writing our grant, and we're funded, so we have 3 more years. It's always exciting when you're on a grant.
When you know you have a job.
Yes. There are, I believe, 21 or 22 state or regional AgrAbility projects, and then there's a number of affiliates that are not grant funded but still do some of the work and offer the resources throughout the country.
Okay. So Ohio State University currently has the grant.
Yes. AgrAbility is based at the Land Grant University. Ohio State University is the 1862 land grant in Ohio.
Okay.
And Central State is the 1890. You could also have a tribal land grant, which we do not have in Ohio, but probably especially farther Midwest and out west, they have those. And then in addition to the land grant then partners with a nonprofit organization, typically one that works with people with disabilities, so a rehabilitation facility. And ours is Easter Seals of Greater Cincinnati here in Ohio, but different states have Arthritis Foundation, Goodwill, Easter Seals, etc.
Okay, sure. So on a national scale, you communicate directly with the folks at the National AgrAbility Program. I know they do a conference every year, for example.
They did the National Training Workshop in March. We went to Portland, Maine for that. They also have, I think, quarterly all-staff calls. We all call in. They have monthly or bi-monthly webinars on all different sorts of farming and agriculture and disability topics. We actually have one coming up next month. I think it's on social media because that's hard sometimes.
Something we all need to do more effectively.
That we do. And then they have a wonderful program called the Toolkit. You can go to their website. You can link to it off of our website and go into the toolkit, and it will look either by disability or by I think by the job you want to do, and it'll give you suggestions on how to do that job with a disability.
So that's a great resource for people that have disabilities, but also I would assume for coordinators in your position across the United States to know what other states are doing and give them some ideas of how they can help folks.
We also have a monthly newsletter called the E-Note. It's available on the National AgrAbility website under News, and it's wonderful. We were talking about it earlier today. It's a great monthly thing where we say what we've been doing, and it's so interesting to see what other states have been doing, and we get a lot of good ideas for what they're doing. So it's a great way just to see what we're all doing, kind of keeps us accountable, but we get to see what other people are doing and say, oh, we haven't talked to that group of professionals before. We should try to get in touch with them.
Sure, yeah, and reach out.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the services that you provide within AgrAbility.
Okay. So for AgrAbility, we have a number of services. On our website, we have resources. Under that, we have fact sheets. Anybody who's familiar with Extension knows all about fact sheets. I believe we have 31 or 32 AgrAbility fact sheets that are available, and they look at everything from family and caregiver issues, working with chronic conditions, health conditions. We're part of the Agricultural Safety and Health Program at OSU Extension, so there's a lot of information on working safely and not getting a secondary injury, which is what happens when my shoulder really hurts, my right shoulder, so I let my left shoulder take up the excess work, and then now both my shoulders hurt, or something else. So we think a lot about that. If you have a disability and maybe you have a limitation somewhere, you might try to pick up the excess work elsewhere and just make it worse.
It sounds like there's some resources for family members as well.
Yes, we do have a peer-to-peer network. We meet 2 to 3 times a year. Our last few times we've been in London, Ohio at the Gwynn Conservation Center. It's a beautiful location, good and central. But we come together, we might have a little bit of food, but mostly we just have a meeting, and we the staff will present a few topics. I'll usually talk about extension resources, health and wellness, something disability related events. Charlie and Randy will share about different technologies that we're using, and then we open it up for the farmers to talk about some solutions they've come up with, and it's so interesting. Just you're going to find a way to do it. We hope you're doing it safely, so you share it with the group, and then it's just a lot of networking or socializing, and that's so neat to see everybody get together. It's one of my favorite parts of the program. And even when, you'll find out from Charlie and Randy, even when we have worked with a farmer and come up with a solution for it, you're not done with us yet. We're still going to email you about the peer-to-peer networks and send you some newsletters and try to keep in contact. We're family.
I think that's one of the unique things about the AgrAbility program, is that it's not just providing assistance, but it's providing ongoing, it's an ongoing relationship.
It's an ongoing relationship. We don't really want to call it support, but they'll check in. I know Randy has said that a few of our farmers will call him if they haven't heard from him, so they want to know where the heck he is. But that's, I mean, it's like family. It's one of the great things that, and unfortunately, as you age, things change, things get a little bit harder. So we've had a few farmers that maybe a number of years ago we helped with one thing, and then as they have aged, they've needed some more help, and that's definitely optional because that's life. That's the way life goes.
Very true. And with disability, you know, not just life changes, but the nature of disability changes. So maybe we should touch on what is a disability? Who can you help as AgrAbility?
I would look at, as the disability coordinator, I'm the one who really enjoys the Americans with Disabilities Act, the federal law. So I would work out of the definition of disability from the Americans with Disabilities Act. It defines a person with a disability as anyone with a mental or physical limitation that substantially limits one or more daily activities. And that can be all the things that go along with working, communicating, learning, and thinking. Those were added when they amended the ADA, because I guess thinking's not something anyway
that we considered at first,
yes,
right?
I think it's just so obvious, but different types of things like that. It also includes people who have a record of such impairment, even if they're not disabled now. So you might look at an episodic condition like MS, or perhaps cancer that goes into remission that could come back, or another chronic condition. And it also includes individuals who don't have a disability but are regarded as people by having a disability, which maybe if you had a scar or something, they would consider that. And it makes it unlawful to discriminate against a person with a disability based on their association with a person with a disability. That really doesn't come into it. Mostly it substantially limits a major life activity.
And that's how you can provide help
to those folks. That's how we do that. And we don't require medical documentation as you would maybe at college or school, but it's, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
you. Next, we will welcome Randy Joseph, a Rural Rehabilitation Coordinator from Easter Seals, and also Charlie Landis, who is also an Easter Seals Tri-State Coordinator for the Ohio AgrAbility Program. We talked quickly with Laura how Easter Seals is the nonprofit partner of the Ohio AgrAbility Extension Partnership. So welcome. Make room here at the table. And I will point to the website, the Easter Seals AgrAbility website, up on the screen there to find out more information about your role and how you help facilitate this great partnership and program here in Ohio. Talk a little bit about Easter Seals, what Easter Seals does for those that are unfamiliar, and how you work with Extension to facilitate this partnership with Ohio AgrAbility.
Yeah, Easter Seals, we actually changed our name. It's Greater Cincinnati now, serving Greater Cincinnati. And you can go to Easter Seals, Greater Cincinnati, gc.org.
Okay.
EasterSealsGC.org. Sorry about that. But
Google will get you there.
Google will get you there, absolutely. But we feel our purpose is to change the way the world views and defines disabilities, and going out there into the workplace and breaking down some barriers that have been put in place because people see that maybe an individual can't do a job, but typically individuals can do any job set before them with the right accommodation put in place. So we work with Ohio State University and the National AgrAbility Program to assist farmers to continue doing what they love most, and that's farming. We're not out to change the way they do business. We're not out to force them into a factory or a warehouse because, you know, suddenly they can't get into their tractor any longer, or they can't function at the level that they've been used to for years. So our heart and our drive is to change the way people view them and view those situations and get them in the direction where they're able to farm again.
And what I love about that and what's unique about that service is often when folks face challenges in certain career fields, it automatically goes to retraining. You know, we need to retrain this person so that they can turn widgets in this way, or they can file, you know, because they still have the mental capacity to do you know, filing in alphabetical order, but you put a farmer in front of a filing cabinet, and that's not. We who farm know that that's not right. Like that's not what they are.
And so many of the organizations that we have the opportunity to work with and get assistance from for our farmers, traditionally they've always been about fitting that farmer into another line of work, and now they've all declared that, hey, this is retraining, not retraining, but this is a job safe.
Sure.
Because this is a company. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about the process. If a farmer contacts Ohio AgrAbility, you receive word that this farmer is interested in the services. You might be able to help this person, you know, with a referral. And what kind of walk through if someone is viewing this, thinking, "Hey, maybe that can help me on my farm." What can they expect from the process?
It starts off with that initial contact, the initial farm visit, and then Charlie can kind of walk you through the rest of that.
Yeah, and first they usually get hold of Laura that we spoke with earlier at Ohio State, and she runs through just what are they doing? You know, are they farming and going through the guidelines and stuff? And we have some pretty loose guidelines when it comes to what makes a farmer or an agricultural worker. And sometimes it's simply as somebody that makes $1,000 or more on their property. So it could be somebody with a very large garden or a roadside stand, up to somebody that has a large swine operation or a dairy farmer. There's very many jobs that categorize in there. And then if you have a disability, and Laura rolled through all that earlier, and a disability can be anything that's preventing you from doing your work, and especially what you love to do.
I believe that's actually the $1,000 or more. That's the USDA definition.
It
okay,
sure
so
is.
that's
Yep, that's where we take it from. But once that's all set, one of us, either Randy or myself, we will give the farmer a call, and then we'll set up a on-farm visit. And we'll be able to go out there and usually sit around the dining room table, talk with the farmer, their family. Sometimes it's just the farmer, sometimes the spouse is there. And we'll talk over everything, what the operation is, and then what is your major setback or obstacle that you're facing because of your disability. And then we start forming ideas and goals together. And then we start connecting them with the right organizations to get them the help. And if the funds aren't there, the organizations that can get the funds to get the proper equipment. And sometimes it's not just equipment. We might talk through on how to reorganize their job tasks so they can do the job maybe in a more simpler manner, or a manner that will accommodate their disability.
So, and it's really, you know, as we kind of spoke about with Laura, you're not sending a booklet of paperwork and saying, fill this out and get it back to me. It's very much,
not at all.
You're sitting down with the farmers, sometimes multiple times over several months.
Multiple times.
Process.
Sometimes it's just gotta gain that rapport first too, so they understand who we are and what we're here for. We're here to help. And you gotta build that relationship so that way we can really get to know them.
So often once that relationship's built, there's farmers, we've been working with for years. And they'll call us. They'll, my phone will ring and it'll be, Bill from, or Gary or Greg from whatever county, hey, how's things going? I was thinking about you today and just wanted to give you a call. And, we always get a good laugh out of that. You're like, we're doing fine. But sometimes it's just meeting and having a cup of coffee with them and seeing how things are progressing, once that accommodation, whether it's a grapple or stairs going into their hayloft or a lift to get into the tractor, whatever the case may be. We don't just place it there and go, see ya,
good
have
luck
fun
with
with that.
Yeah.
But we're there for the training. We're there for the
Exactly.
follow-up. We get calls, the equipment's not working right. So we'll go out. We're the first ones. We're the first responders on that stuff. We go out, we take a look at it, and then we'll work with the manufacturer or the dealer. So, we stay very involved.
And we're not there to tell them what to do.
No.
At all.
They know what
We're there to help. We're there to help connect the dots for them, to show them the equipment. We're around that equipment all the time, and we're getting ideas from other farmers, from each other, through other AgrAbilities from other states. So we're there to help. We're not there to tell anybody how to do something.
Okay, great. Well, a special population that I wanted to touch on, we talked with Laura about, what is a disability defined. We're seeing great growth in the amount of military veterans that are exiting service and are interested in agriculture. For several reasons. Some people say it's the physical nature of agriculture that military veterans are used to and really enjoy. Some people say agriculture has therapeutic benefits. Probably the truth is that it's a combination of all of those things. So we are going to welcome Kip Harlow from Dickey Bird Farm, who utilized some of Easter Seal and Ohio AgrAbility services to help him transition to a career in agriculture. So Kip is here from Dickey Bird Farm. Maybe you guys could talk a little bit about the process when you first came to the farm and did the assessment, and kind of what the findings were and some of the things that you were able to implement on the farm, and we can look at some pictures of those things as well.
Okay, well, the first thing was, I didn't get to see Kip at first. It was Randy. It was the first one out there. But I then came on board as Kip was more in my area, and we already had an appointment set up with one of the caseworkers with the Opportunities with Ohioans with Disabilities to start trying to find some solutions for Kip. So we talked and we walked around the farm, got to see what the operation was about, what he did, what were his daily chores, what equipment was he using, and what were the challenges he was facing then. So it really started with the conversation and looking at the farm.
And can you talk a little bit about some of the different enterprises you do on the farm, and maybe about some of the limitations, for example, mobility limitations, and some of the solutions that you came up with together to implement?
We produce small square bales, and we raise meat goats. So issues I was having was the ability to be able to move hay bales when to and from the loft. I was having an issue with when you're baling, you have a side pickup. So if you happen to turn, a lot when you're running bales, you're 4 to 6 hours in the tractor seat. Injuries, to my neck and my back, it's very difficult to be able to sit there.
Because of back mobility.
Correct, and neck and stuff. So one of the solutions they came up with was an inline baler. So basically all I have to do is straddle a windrow, and it picks up directly underneath the tractor. And I installed a camera system, so what I can do is I can watch as it's picking up into the baler and as they come out to see if if I have a broken string or anything like that.
And so there is a picture here of the inline baler, which is assisted with your mobility because you were not needing to turn to constantly watch bales being thrown out to the side. So someone that would have limited back mobility, for example, couldn't do that turning motion, but could use an inline baler and line up the equipment automatically.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then with the cameras too, it prevents the multiple turning the back and the neck that can cause strain, even on somebody that has a relatively strong back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as far as haymaking goes, because that's very physical, what are some other solutions that you came up with to help with that?
There's an item called an AgrAbility. So instead of having to, let's just say, position somebody on the wagon that falls behind your baler, which becomes a safety factor for a farm. You have to hire either day labor or get another family member to ride the baler. So it was difficult for me to stack more than waist high. So lifting the bale and throwing it up on top and continue to go up. So the AgrAbility allows for me to, when I'm baling, drop the hay directly flat on the ground and do the entire field or multiple fields, and then I just change out the equipment with the skid loader attachment, hook up the hydraulics, and what you're basically doing is you're sweeping the field. So you drive along with your grapple parallel with the ground, and you're loading it up as you're driving along. So once you get 8 to 10 bells, you would deploy your grapples, lift it up, and then you can set it directly onto the wagon without having to use any physical strength. And then you can just move it, push them around, and align them as you go. And you can basically, your only limitation would be your loader height. And with our particular tractor, we can do about 11.5 feet. So that will give me about 5 rows of hay, which is quite phenomenal. And then when you're ready to unload it, you just pull the guides off the side, and you can use it as a straight grapple. So you can just grapple your 8 to 10 bells, take it off, and then you can set it into the barn, so you never have to actually physically touch the hay unless you're selling it or feeding it. So, and that was a major change for me. It was,
So we have a picture of the grapple for those untechnical minds such as mine that have a hard time imagining how that would work in the field. But the grapple, from what I'm hearing you say, is allowing you to not have to touch a bale from when you cut it to loading it on a hay wagon to stacking it inside an open building. You're not having to touch anything. You're able to use that grapple and grab how many bales?
8 to 10 bells,
8 to
depending
10
on how you
small square
sweep them off
bales.
the field, and bell length. So if you have one, if your bells are 36 inches, you can load 10. If they're longer, around 40 inches, you're limited to what you can turn the last 2 bells and get your last 10.
And then as far as working with livestock, because that's another enterprise that you do on your farm, if you could talk a little bit about some of the strain with back and knee and neck injuries, and how working with livestock, how Ohio AgrAbility was able to facilitate some equipment to help you more effectively work with your livestock.
That's correct. They came up with a corral system that you can load up to 40 head at one time, and has an automatic gate. So as you cycle your, each head through the tilt table, the gate will slowly, gradually close upon the herd and force them all towards the head chute and everything.
Okay.
So this is a great system. You can actually operate it with one hand. So you can open the entrance gate, corks them into the table, and then close the gate, and you can compress it onto the animal with one hand, and then you can also lift and tilt for to get them on their side. So you can vaccinate them, you can trim the hooves. That's one of the major things is when you're trimming hooves. If you're trying to wrestle one up onto a traditional type platform, getting them up there is one thing, locking them in, and then you're having to basically hang your head upside down and wrestle with them to hold their legs still, and then you trim their hooves. With this one, you can, when you flip them vertically, or horizontally, you're basically, you can sit on a chair or a bucket, and you're at eye level, and you can trim, and it takes all that strain off of your back, and then you know, leaning over and upside down, and you don't have to actually restrain them anymore because their legs are forced with the actual table itself.
Okay, and we have a picture of the Tilton Corral system pulled up there for folks that are interested in seeing the structure and how that works, how it connects right to where the livestock come out of in the barn. So if farmers are interested in getting in touch with Ohio AgrAbility to discuss how you can facilitate some changes to help them stay on the farm or transition into a career in agriculture, who should they contact, and how can they find out more about what you guys do?
Well, they would, first off, they can go to our website, which is agrability.osu.edu, and then actually give Laura a call. And do we have that number up at all? I'm not sure if we have the number.
We can pull up the website.
But it'll have the contact numbers there, or you can give her an email. Her contact information is there too. And then she will facilitate on getting that farmer in contact with the right rural rehab coordinator, me or Randy, depending on where you're at in the state. And we'll then get hold of you and be happy to help in any way we can.
Great. And you all will be at the Farm Science Review coming up in September. Set up a big booth there, and I know a lot of farmers kind of like to collect and get together and catch up with you guys and you know, learn more about what your current programs are.
Exactly, and the booth at the Farm Science Review, or the tent, is really set up with some vendors. That way we can kind of showcase some of the equipment that's out there and walk through with people on how that equipment works and give them ideas for their own farms.
Great, great. So thanks again for everyone for joining us today and learning more about the Ohio AgrAbility Program and how it can help farmers transition to careers in agriculture or to stay on the farm to help provide solutions to farmers with disabilities, whether that be limited mobility or other problems that are preventing them from operating their farms effectively.